Good afternoon everyone, hope you're all well. In this video what I'm going to be playing in a few seconds is a recording from a live client call from myself where I've actually picked up 9 vacancies. So I wanted to demonstrate that and show you guys. If you want to learn how exactly to do this, I do live consultancy calls, half an hour and an hour slots. So if you want to book in with me, there's a link to my email in the description. Just drop me an email, the price is always there. And without further ado, enjoy the video. Good morning, Kada speaking.
Hi, Kaden.
Good morning.
Good. How are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Yeah, not too bad actually.
Good.
Thank you for your time today.
Sorry, say again?
Thank you for your time today, making a call and reaching out.
No problem. Let's see what we've got, what you can do to help us.
Wonderful, yeah. I mean, would it be helpful if I just give you, I don't know, a 30-second little brief about our agency, what we do? Would that be helpful? Yeah. So typically we help companies on the social care side. So it's anything from, care assistants, care workers, in residential settings, sometimes community as well, and also some residential schools as well. So it typically is anywhere from registered managers, operations managers, everything on the social side really. And that's pretty much what we do. We operate across the UK, and we work with, I think, 5 county councils as well on the public sector.
Okay, so do you do permanent positions?
Yes, we do both perm and temporary as well.
Do you do temp to perm?
We do, yes. 3-month period.
Just writing some bits down a minute.
No problem.
Okay, so what are your actual fees?
For the permanent side, it's 8% is our flat rate, and that's for any position. On the permanent side, temporary I'll have to have a look because it's quite dynamic, but it typically is around, I mean, just off the top of my head, it's not set in stone. A care assistant could be £1.50 charge rate on top per hour, for example.
For temps, yeah?
Correct, yeah. But I'll be happy to put everything in writing, depending on, what sort of.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Okay. So, and what happens, obviously, with the permanent? What
Yep.
happens the way that you take it on? Do you do the references or anything like that?
We can do, yeah. We can, do the reference background check. That's not an issue at all. And of course, with temporary, we'll be doing, background checks as well as reference checks.
Right. Okay. So, obviously, if it's temp to perm, I take it you do all the references and the DBS and everything.
Correct, prior to them starting. So they'll either be already registered with us,
Yeah.
or we'd pre-register them and obviously send them their profile with the details attached. So, for example, an up-to-date DBS.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So what happens? So going, well, we're flicking between two, aren't we? Sorry.
That's okay.
With the permanent staff, what happens if they come on board? Because the way that we work would be, obviously, after an interview, we then normally we send for like a trial shift.
Okay.
Normally, and then not necessarily for use agency, but sometimes we send them for a trial shift to see how they get on. What
Right.
we then do from there is we do obviously all your contracts and bits and pieces, but we do inductions as well.
Okay.
So what happens if they choose not to, or say they come on board and they're not within a month or something, they don't turn up, or they're not sufficient for us? What would happen in that way with regards to like replacing or
Yep. So what we offer is there's a 3-month window where we offer it as a guarantee. So within that period, for whatever reason, dismissal, whether they've not shown up or their work isn't satisfactory in terms of their performance, for whatever reason, we can replace with no extra cost to yourself within that 3-month period for a like-for-like candidate. We can do that once. However, you have the option, we have a scaling rebate which drops down. So, for example, I believe it's if they leave within the first, I think, 2 weeks, there'll be no charge at all. And then it scales down to about 25% let's say week 11, would give 25% of the money back, or you can
Okay.
have them replaced. So there is
Okay.
both options, whichever one you want to choose,
Yeah.
really.
So what happens? So the one thing I find when we recruit that
Yeah,
takes that is quite that we find quite difficult is we do all the normal, the interviews, the contract, the offers,
yeah,
all that kind of stuff. Then there's an induction. Sometimes there's a bit of a delay, and then obviously there's then sometimes quite a delay getting the DBSs through. So they might not actually start
correct.
for
Yeah.
a good few weeks. So where do you stand with that?
So most of the candidates are on the I can't remember the name of it. What's
The
it?
update
Yeah,
service?
that's correct. So if they're
Okay.
already pre-registered with us,
Yeah.
we would just say, look, if it's the permanent side, we'd ask for that, get them registered. Just double check it as well, because there might be a time period where there's incidents occurred, so we want to make sure that's all done,
Yeah.
and make sure they have a DBS check, update service, and obviously on the temp side we have to do that before. So
Yes.
there may be a slight delay. Chances are we do have people depending. I think
Light comes under something slightly different, so I would have to
yeah.
go through that with you as well. But
Okay.
the main one at the moment is yeah. So we're based around.
Wonderful. So just to sort of elaborate on that, they would be background checked. They would have to be background checked on that.
They would have the update service, so we wouldn't really
Yeah.
have that delay.
Yeah, because most of our candidates at least have 2 years experience working in the care sector,
Yeah.
and they would have to have that as well as 2 years at least of reference checks as well. Otherwise, they're going to find
Right.
it very difficult to find a position.
Right. Okay. I'm with you. So your requirements is that they have a DBS and then they have the update service. So whoever you send them out to can just do the update service and they'll be ready to go.
Correct. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. Okay. That's fine. Okay. So where do we? I don't know if there's anything else. So it's obviously the 8%.
Yeah.
So with the 3 months temp to perm, what happens after? We do the interviews or what happens?
If you want to take them on, you can obviously have a sort of permanent contract interview if you like. That's up to your sort of internal process, or it can just be a roll-on contract your end. So after the 3 month period, if you're satisfied and the candidate is as well, or the employee, they would move on and just simply start working with yourselves under a new contract, which will be permanent, facilitated through yourselves. We do offer, depending on the rates. I mean, it can get quite complex, I'll be honest with you. So that's why I want to put it in writing.
Yeah, please. Yeah.
And we want it to work for yourself. So it's either the fee can be slightly reduced if there is a buyout at the end,
Right.
or it can be just a flat fee and it just rolls on naturally, like I said before.
Okay. So with the temps, so you just send whoever through and then we decide if we're going to take them on to permanent? Is that right?
Absolutely, yeah. So they'll start
Okay.
working with yourself. Either you can
Okay.
say we still want to do a short screening telephone interview, or we want to do a face-to-face interview before they start.
Yeah.
Typically, you could say, look, we need someone or various, candidates at this sort of skill set, and then we'll, they can start Monday,
Right.
and then you'll induct them from there.
Right. I'm with you. Okay. So with the permanent, you just, I take it you send us the details and we choose who we want to interview. Is that right?
Correct, yeah. So it'll be, you'll screen them, you'll do your own interviews. I'm happy
Yeah.
to take on some, if you have screening questions, I'm happy to do that on your behalf as well prior.
Okay.
And then you review the candidates.
Yeah.
After that, you'll schedule an interview, and then you'll either make an offer or we'll keep searching for you.
Right. Okay. So coming slightly off of that, what's like your COVID policy at the moment? How are you working with that?
So it's all fully remote what we do. We can actually assist you with interviews if you're not set up for remote interviews. We can help that. And we are advising, and it's obviously your choice to sort of take our advice, but remote interviews, either that's telephone or via
Yeah.
Zoom, we would
Yeah.
recommend that in terms of that. And
Yeah.
some candidates are reluctant to go to interviews,
Mhm. Yeah.
especially if it's a neutral venue as well.
Yeah. And what about like your screening? So say we did the temp to perm.
Yep.
What's your kind of screening with the COVID?
Yeah, so typically they'll either be in employment under us,
Yeah.
or they would have previous prior experience. To answer your question, is it how would we manage COVID restrictions, or
Yeah,
is that your question?
yeah. So obviously, yeah. So with us,
Yeah,
we don't really want any. I mean,
of
some of
course.
us obviously work in different areas, different places as well. But we
Yeah,
do prefer people to just work um, for our company, not working in other to minimise the
right.
risk.
Okay.
We have supported living, we have
Right.
residential,
Correct.
we have yeah. So it's a bit of both that we do, but we try and have a bubble so people tend to work more if they're working in houses, but they'll be in that kind of bubble. And
Correct.
then we have a supported living house.
Yep.
And like I said, there's kind of bubble there, and then we have residential as kind of bubble. So obviously, to have someone come in, what kind of screening would you do to them? Do you find out where they've been? Do you find out if they've had any symptoms, that kind of thing?
Yeah, we would do. Yeah, that would be probably one of our questions that we'll be asking. But in terms of that, if they are working somewhere else, we wouldn't advise. That's actually something we had a meeting about. It's we can't have a candidate even if they're working part time at two positions. We're not actually doing that at the moment, and we won't be doing it until I think it's March next year. Is what
Right.
we've sort of put in, not as a contingency, but sort of measures
Yeah.
around COVID, especially in high risk areas.
Exactly.
We've really had
Okay.
to home in on that.
Perfect. Okay. So you basically they're only allowed to work in one place.
Yeah, under us. Obviously,
Yeah.
we can't control if they do go through another agency,
Of
but
course.
if it's a full time position, it's quite unlikely that they are
Yeah.
going to be doing that as well.
Yeah. Sure. Um, okay. So if we had a, so we try not to use agency for temping, if I'm honest
Right.
with you, at the moment,
Yeah.
because of COVID. But if there comes a contingency, then we have to. Um, again, what do you do for that? Do you do temps that you allow them to work in different places? Because obviously it's agency, they tend to just work anywhere, don't they?
Yeah, potentially they would be. I mean, you could say to us, we want someone that I don't know. It would be quite. It would really restrict our candidate pool if you
Of
said
course.
somebody that hasn't worked anywhere for 3 months. It would be
Yes.
really restrictive. If you
Yeah.
said, I mean, would have a full employment history, and the
Of course.
candidates usually share that
Yeah.
with no reservations around that. So
Yeah.
it could be the case of it could be a similar setting that they've worked,
Yeah. Okay.
or the same setting. I mean, it would. How would you like us to? I mean, I'll take your
It's
instruction.
Yeah, it's a difficult situation at the moment, isn't it? We just want to minimise any
Yeah,
risk. That's why we wouldn't use agency, but obviously we have a winter contingency plan if things happen.
of
Obviously, if
course.
someone's sick and all that kind of stuff. So we are looking. So there's two parts really. We're
Hmm.
looking for our permanent staff, which I'll explain to you what kind of roles we're looking for in a moment.
Yeah.
So we're looking for that, but we're also I'm kind of doing it on the side that we can have some trusted agencies that potentially, if our winter contingency plan has to kick
Yeah.
in, that we have just a couple of agencies that we can fall on
Okay.
to
Yeah.
help us obviously mitigate and help our clients so they've still got cover. So it's kind of two parts really.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that's where my question was.
Okay. No, I hope I answered that. I mean, it's given me something to think about as well, and bring to management and see what we can offer. Can we fund PPE, for example? For
Yeah,
our temp staff, can we do something? I mean, we're happy to sort of do that. And how
yeah.
can we help is the question that springs to mind with me.
Yeah, it's literally just like mitigating
Mitigating
the
the risk,
risk
yeah,
at the moment. Um,
absolutely.
but no, that's absolutely fine because obviously once if we go forward with yourselves with these kind of roles that we're looking for, then obviously I will then put you on the list
Yeah.
for businesses to potentially
Okay.
contact if needed you. Um, so yeah, so for in order to be able to do that, I would need when you send all the information to me, if you have a COVID policy, anything like that, if you can attach that and send that to me,
Right.
that would be fantastic.
Okay.
Just so that I can then forward it to the manager and say, right, this is, so we know where we stand really.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'll be more than happy to do that.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, so going to the roles that we actually have,
Yep.
um, we have various roles. We're looking for seniors potentially. Now got
course.
some
Yeah.
candidates in the pipeline anyway, but obviously to open up the pool that we can get from. We are looking for seniors. We're looking for 2 senior carers
Yep.
to work, one in a residential setting and one in a supported living setting.
Okay.
We are looking for a field care supervisor, and these are all jobs that I'm going to have to get all their job descriptions and the adverts up anyway. But
Yep.
a field care supervisor, so they will be full-time, working out in the field, not office hours, but they will be working in the field,
Right.
covering the care, but covering the spot checks and things like that as well.
Okay.
So slightly, not quite a coordinator, but they're in between a care and support worker and a coordinator.
Yeah.
So they're in between. Obviously rates, I need to work out where the rates is going to be
Okay.
for that as well. On top of that, we are actually looking for care and support workers as well.
Right.
And we're looking probably potentially, I mean, we're always recruiting because we're expanding. We take on quite a few different packages lately.
Wonderful.
But we're probably potentially looking, I mean, the seniors and that kind of thing are the top, but I would say we're potentially looking at maybe another 3 to 4 staff care assistants as well.
Okay.
Potentially.
And the urgency is obviously on the senior position in the...
Yeah, so I have got some people that I will be phoning today to try and book in for interviews.
Brilliant.
So I have got them, but yeah, so the urgencies would be for the 2 seniors, and when I can get this job advert, the urgency would be for field care supervisor. They're probably your top ones at the moment.
Okay. I'll note that.
So the other side of this is to do with our care home in
Okay.
but it's a care home that we actually have in an elderly residential care home.
Okay.
And we are actually looking for quite a few staff there. We're looking for 2 part-timers, potentially a full-timer, to cover weekends, nights, waking nights as well.
Okay, waking nights.
Waking nights are
Yep.
there, yeah.
Waking nights. Wonderful.
So it's in 2 branches. I hope I'm not confusing you too much.
No, it's...
Where I have my little head on.
I was about to say, how do you manage 2 companies?
I don't manage it all, but yeah.
So that's...
But yeah, so potentially it's like 2 different companies, although we're under 1 branch,
Right.
1 umbrella.
Okay, perfect. And just... I always find some value in it. I've worked in an internal position before, dealing with agencies before I went to agency recruitment. What is it you don't like about agencies that, not typically annoy you, but do you find irrelevant CVs come through, or what do I need to avoid if we work together?
Okay, so probably the main thing is, so the main thing was going to be probably the focus is just going to be mainly on the candidates. We do
Yeah.
get a few where people will say, oh look, I know it's not what you've asked for, but I think this is really good.
Yeah.
I get that, and sometimes I do think there is a little bit of that when you meet someone, you can kind of think, right, do you know what, I can actually see them there. So I understand that. However, if it comes to a point where, like, if we sort of say, like, say for the senior, we want MVQ3
Yep.
minimum. There's no negotiation on
Yeah,
that.
it has to be.
So if someone comes in, even if you think, oh my God, you know what, they could be, that's what our requirement is,
Yeah.
is a level 3, because there's other reasons around that. We haven't taken anyone on internally as a senior because we don't have that at the moment.
Okay.
So it's things like that. I mean, I understand, like, you want to push your people through to us to try
Of course, yeah.
and get where they need to go. But we don't have a lot of restrictions. We're happy to help people. But I think coming from the agency, if there's people from Indeed, we're a little bit more lenient. But obviously with the fee,
Of course, yeah. You
good quality candidates.
absolutely, yeah. And it does warrant it, because it's not... You're not paying us respectfully. You're not paying us a little £50. It's there is a you know,
exactly.
up to, you could potentially, what you're saying to me, it could potentially be, you know, four figures
Yeah,
off of that. So it needs to be taken seriously our end as well. And I don't,
yeah. So I think the caliber of the candidates would
yeah,
have to be quite a lot higher than we would take from, say, from Indeed.
I totally agree.
I
Yeah,
don't. We have taken people on through an agency before who haven't actually, they haven't made it, and yeah, it's been a
yeah, it can
a
be.
nightmare. So it has to be good quality candidates that know what they're doing for yourself. Um,
Right.
yeah, so
Okay.
they've got to have experience in care. It's not just we. I mean, as you can appreciate through Indeed, you get obviously got a lot of people that just want something
Yeah,
new or
of
just
course.
But through an agency, we would expect the caliber to be higher.
Yeah.
Someone that knows what they want to do, not just trying it. They know that that's what they want to do. They know where they want to go. Um, obviously, yeah. So that's probably what I would expect from
Okay.
you.
Yeah, what I try to aim for is at least the essential criteria is met.
Yes.
And then if there's
Yeah.
desirable on top, we always aim for that as well.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
mean, I
it's,
know that we can screen through
of
them as
course, yeah.
well. But obviously, with the time and stuff like that,
Yeah, absolutely.
we would expect quite decent caliber
Yeah. And
candidates.
also, would there be anything you would like outsourced in terms of the recruitment process to us that we can sort of lighten the load for you?
Um, no, I don't think so. I mean, I think all I would want from you is obviously forward CVs as you can.
Yep.
Make sure that they've got what we need. Make sure that they've got that there's no gaps.
Of
That's the
course,
other
yeah,
thing,
yeah. That has
obviously.
to be.
Make sure there's no gaps in any employment history,
Correct.
or that they can explain the gaps. Um, make sure that obviously with their DBS, make sure that they disclose anything.
Yep.
Make sure that they um, disclose if they've been dismissed or any disciplinary or
Of
anything
course,
like
yeah.
that. Um, and then yeah, that's all we would really
Okay.
we would ask
Do
really.
you have an application form?
Yeah, so we do have an application form. So what I can do for you is once we get all your information back,
Yep.
if you can put it all in, then what I will do is there will be an application form that we would want people to fill out.
Perfect, yeah. What?
We would also want a CV.
Of course, yeah.
Um,
I mean, what we typically do with most companies that want us to do an application form, we say, look, we're happy to actually get it filled in on your behalf, speed things up, and we would send the CV to you for review. You'd say, yep,
yeah,
can they complete the application form? Off
yeah,
the offset, it looks satisfactory, simply because we don't want a candidate filling in loads of application forms, and it doesn't
yeah,
get doesn't give a good candidate experience. And then, literally, we'll have the CV. If you'd like a DBS sent across with
yeah.
the attached application form complete, we can move forward from there if you'd like.
Perfect.
I think that's
Yeah,
probably best.
that does sound the best thing. So the best thing would be a CV. We'll screen it through, and if we go ahead, we have a lot of people that don't turn up for interviews.
Right.
Um, obviously, I think most people in this sector do. So yeah, so then once they've gone through, then we could have the application
Yeah,
before we go in ahead with any
absolutely.
interviews.
That's
Yeah.
perfect. So yeah, I think that's. Do you have any further questions, any reservations around us?
No, I don't think so. No, I think
Right.
I'm quite happy. Obviously, I'll have to get together all the different job roles and everything
Yeah.
that we have.
I mean,
What
we
would you
can.
require from me? Just the job adverts or
Yeah, job
job description?
adverts. I think you've covered everything. Just mainly salary. Also, the sort of turnaround time from CV send, so I can engage with the candidates, because I don't want some candidates are under the impression they're going to hear in 24 hours.
Right, okay.
So that could be the case of why they wouldn't show up for interview, and we've had that, and I want to avoid that because that's even more of a waste of time for yourself. So,
Yeah.
do you have an estimate so I can say, look, typically because we worked with the company before, it's usually a 7 day, 5 working day we usually hear back from your CV
Yeah,
send. So is that going to be the case?
I would probably say that. I mean, we do try and do it as quickly as we
Of course,
possibly
no, I
can.
understand.
The one thing I need to work out is how we're going to go ahead with if we're going to do a trial shift, because the whole point of a trial shift that we normally used to do is obviously
Yeah,
sometimes we have people that don't know us, don't have much
of
experience, and we
course, yeah.
put them in for a trial. If you're bringing in the caliber of people that um, obviously know what they're doing, have done it all before, then not necessarily would they need a trial shift. So I will just clarify that before I
Okay.
come back and put that all through for you. Because obviously, if we don't the trial shift, if we don't have to do that, then the turnaround's a lot quicker anyway.
Of course, yeah. I totally understand. If that is the case, I'll be happy to mention it. It would have to be paid trial to the candidate, though. I'm sure
Yeah.
you're aware.
Yeah, see, we don't do that. We do a 2 hour, like an unpaid 2 hour, it's like a second interview,
Oh,
basically.
okay. All right, that makes sense.
Yeah,
I thought it was a
yeah, no,
full
it's
shift.
literally, no, the reason why we do it, and I think it's
I
brilliant.
think so. Yeah, we do it here actually.
Yeah, it just gives them a chance to talk to people that aren't in the interview setting. The carers that work there, the nurse
Absolutely.
users, and it gives them a bit more of a feel about us. So I think it is really good. But it's usually only two hours in
Yeah,
the setting, just to see what they're like, see how they
absolutely.
interact. We have some people that just don't get past that
Yeah,
side. So I will just discuss that and see if that's something that we can
wonderful.
organise.
I think actually, in terms of facilitating the whole interview process, that is probably the most powerful part.
Mm,
I
yeah.
feel, working in various different sectors, even at management level, it's. Are you going to enjoy it here as well? Is the question. Would you
Exactly.
like it? Is this what
Exactly.
you're after? So,
Yeah.
2 months down the line, you don't say, look, it's not for me.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And I think a lot of people, not necessarily if they're coming in, they've done it before, but some people have different expectations.
Yeah,
They don't really know what it's going to involve. So by bringing them in on something like that, they get a chance to talk to the manager usually, they get a chance to talk to all the carers, they get a chance just to be in that setting
right.
and talking to the service users so we can see how they interact, they can see it. And we've had people that say, do you know what, I don't like that,
Yeah,
so we'll put them somewhere else. And that's, you find that person's niche of where they want to
absolutely.
go.
100%.
Um, but I will just find out if that's the route that we're going to go down anyway
Okay,
with the main
perfect.
interview. Potentially we might scrap that and just do it with the interview.
Wonderful.
Um, and then obviously when it comes to inductions, we would obviously, after we've gone through all the interview, if we want to take them on, then obviously I would just liaise with you
Yep.
about offers and stuff like that.
Okay,
But I think if
perfect.
we say for now, for a 5 day turnaround, it probably won't be that much, but we can see how it goes.
Okay, perfect. That's just so I can address it and manage the candidate's expectations.
Yes,
It is very helpful, believe me. And
yes, yeah.
yeah, thank you for that. So yeah, I think for now we'd have to get terms in place as well. So
Yes.
what would be the process you're and how would you like it? Would I send it via DocuSign to yourself or?
I just wondered if director wanted from him. No, if you send it to the terms and conditions,
Yep.
I think it's probably best to send it straight to the director.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll give you his details.
And I'll copy you in. Is that okay?
Yes, please,
So he
and then
just
I
doesn't
will.
think I've said
Yeah,
terms.
if you do that, then I can just explain to him that we've had the chat and just make sure if there's any other questions that he needs before he signs it, if that's okay.
Wonderful. So I'll send a temporary, I mean the permanent one across,
Yes,
and if we need to put, like you said, things in place, we can obviously get something
yes.
very quickly engaged on that.
So what's the terms with there's no cost until we get
Yeah,
the stuff through?
yeah,
Yes.
correct. Until offers made, actually, I think it's to the third or fourth week. There's no cost, but it's a 30-day period, so you even have that grace period if things, go sour.
Yeah. Okay. That's fine. I'll write that down. Okay, if I give you his email address,
Yep,
so it's
perfect. I'll have
I'll
that.
explain to him that that's what's going on. I didn't wonder where the email was.
Wonderful. So
All right.
yeah,
Cheers.
yeah, and we'll
See where it goes.
absolutely
All
speak
right.
to you soon. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.